It's Friday, so I thought let's have an In the Flow Friday where we will really sort of do a Manifesting Monday, but on Friday creating an In the Flow weekend. Hi, I'm KALYN and I'm co-founder of the Golden Flow System of Accelerated Well-Being and Abundance. So you can call me your abundance coach. This here's my buddy Oberon. He's very wise, of course. And so he always joins me in my videos. He suggests topics and always brings forward great questions, which I know might help you too. So let's get right to it. Here's one thing about manifesting that can make your manifesting far more powerful. You really want to be in the flow with it. When you're in the flow, you don't have to deliberately try to make things happen, to deliberately try to get things ready, lined up for yourself, because that just becomes a place of trying to control all sorts of things. Instead, when we're in the flow, we're working with the flow of really the universe, but certainly the law of attraction. That means that when we're in the flow, things tend to line up themselves. They tend to work out so well for themselves. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't have some preferences and that we don't want to sort of have a little say, that we might want to have an In the Flow Friday to set up a fluid weekend so that law of attraction will hear some of us and some of what our preference is, look at some of our energy and attract things based on some of that preference. So for that, how do we combine sort of trying to be in control with being in the flow? How do we combine wanting to put our preference forward while still sort of working with the flow and in the flow? How do we, in this way, sort of like pay forward a great weekend? See, the whole pay it forward concept is based on the idea that energy in energy like attracts like. This means that when you're in the flow, you're in a better energy, and law of attraction then attracts a better energy. So when you pay it forward, you're being so benevolent and you're just helping someone out. You're just doing something nice. For example, the way Oberon always joins me. He's just really helpful. And you can think of it as someone who's kind of like this wonderful, good person and who gets wonderful, good things back. Well, the golden rule doesn't quite work because bad things do happen to good people and good things do happen to bad people. You start to get this sense where as you do start to pay forward with your flowing Friday, you're going to start to really help sort of like suggest things that you prefer. Bring forward wonderful flowing things so that you're in the flow and so that you have a nice fluid weekend. So here's what we're going to do to have our flowing Friday. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves in the flow. Getting in the flow is as easy as 3 easy steps. Right, Oberon? Oberon says that step 1 is just welcoming wherever you're at. So whatever you've got going on right now, physically, emotionally, or mentally, just be in the flow with it. Welcome it. One of the worst ways that we can get out of the flow, or maybe I should say one of the most effective ways we can get out of the flow, is to not welcome where we're at. So just welcome whatever it is that's going on for you. Next, Oberon says that step number 2 is to allow it, or embrace it, or experience it. Any one of these. In other words, let's say you welcome that it's Friday and you're wanting a great weekend, you can't wait to maybe get out of work, something like that. Well, instead of denying it, or instead of sort of getting more caught up in the whole I want to get out, can you get a sense how that revs you up? Instead, let it flow. Embrace it. Allow it. Feel what it feels like to want to get out of work, and then, generally speaking, that just flows. In other words, you still might want to get out of work, but you won't be all revved up. You'll be more in the flow. Why? Because you took step 2, right, Oberon? You just allowed it. You just felt the way you felt. You experienced what you were experiencing. Step 3, then, Oberon says, is to let it flow. One interesting thing about my choice in owls is that Oberon is always such a great example of step 3, letting something flow. Because, as we all know, birds of any kind really go with the flow. They spread their wings and they tilt them at different angles, but then they ride the wave. They allow the wind, which is nothing, right, to carry them. They allow the current to take them, and they can just glide. They let everything go, they just stretch their wings, and they let it all flow. In doing so, they go wherever they want to go. So we're going to sort of do the same thing. So let's go over that one more time. Step one, welcome whatever you've got going on right now, whether it's in your heart, in your mind, or in your experience. Step two, allow it, embrace it, experience it. It's actually a lot easier to just let life be life than to constantly try to change it or fix it or correct it or something like that. So just let it be. If it's uncomfortable or a little painful, I know that's not fun, but I promise it will pass. Everything passes. Then next, step three, like Oberon when he's out flying, let it flow. Just let it all go. And when you do, you start to really get this feeling that everything really is well. So now that we're in the flow, or if you want to pause the video and try that a few more times, you can, so that you can get in the flow. The next thing is think about what you would like to put forward into your weekend. Or, as my friend Zazu says, what you'd like to blueprint. Maybe when you make a blueprint, sort of like an architectural plan for your weekend, you can think about the feelings, the experiences, or the thoughts you'd like to have this weekend. Those are all within your realm. While I understand that you may not be a magician and you may not be able to conjure up the right energy to have some amazing experiences this weekend, you certainly do have access to how you'd like to feel, what you'd like to think, and what you'd like to do. So, scare something up now. Find something that you would like for this weekend that you'd like to blueprint in this way. So let's say, for example, that I'd really like to just have this feel-good, amazing weather, amazing feelings, just like free, fun weekend. There's some good things that I can look at. So let's say it's sort of an abundance of feel-good, an abundance of fun that I'm after. Once you know what you'd like to blueprint, let that flow. I know, Oberon, I know. People might go, what? We want to let that go? Well, no, we don't want to let it go, but when you let things flow, I know it seems like you might be letting them go, because when we let them flow, we do kind of let it all go, but when you actually let things flow, and they're a positive energy, or an energy that you're going in the direction of, a higher vibrating energy, well, the flow will actually take anything around the energy that's not serving you, let it flow, and raise that energy. Bring back that energy to you in a next feeling, thought, or experience, but at a higher level. So this is one amazing thing about the universe, or life, or whatever you want to call it. When you have something that maybe is bothering you, something that's undesirable, and you let it flow, it's like it washes down a river and it flows away. On the other hand, when you have something that you prefer, something that you want, for example, what we want for our flowing Friday, what we want for the weekend, well, what it does is it takes anything on the outside and it sort of uplifts and enhances it, leaving you with more of what you prefer, even though in your flowing process you let it all flow. You let your focus go, you let it all flow. So let's try that right now. As Oberon had said, step one, welcome what it is that you want for your flowing Friday, what you want to blueprint. So for me, it was welcoming that abundance of fun, abundance of feeling good and feeling free. Then step two, Oberon had said, is to allow it, embrace it, or experience it. That means that I start to feel some of that fun. And sometimes just thinking about it starts to invoke the feeling. Thinking about welcoming that ability to feel free, you know, it's the weekend, we can go anywhere, we can do anything, that kind of thing, like that feeling that I can really expand a little, play a little. Because frankly, I've been sick for a couple of days, which wasn't fun, so I'm feeling a little stuffed in. So I really want to break out kind of thing. So I start to focus on that. I can start to feel it. I start to welcome it and really allow the idea of it. And as I do that, what happens in the process is I'm really activating the energy. Even though I'm focusing on the thoughts, the feelings, the experience, maybe going to lunch, I'm really starting to activate it. And then step 3, I let it flow. Again, because in doing so, any energies that aren't preferable will just flow away. Like down a river, down a stream, they'll just flow on by. And what comes from upriver is something that's higher vibrating, a better energy for me. So there's your steps. Now we're getting in the flow of blueprinting our weekend. This actually works for pretty much anything that you want to focus on and that you want to manifest. The trick is always in making sure that you're in the flow, because we often get into sort of a place of insisting that life bring us something, or for example that my weekend be a certain way, or insisting that it not be, in my case as an example, that I've been feeling stuffed up, cooped up. So insisting that it not be that way. These kinds of feelings tend to put us out of the flow because they have energies behind them that are more constricting. We also want to, like Oberon, spread our wings, let it all flow, and allow life to bring us to amazing new vistas as we ride the wind, as we just allow life to be what it is. And life then, with law of attraction's help, lines wonderful things up for us. And that's what it's like to be in the flow. Again, I'm KALYN, co-founder of the Golden Flow System of Accelerated Well-Being and Abundance. And Oberon here wants to have me remind you, if you enjoyed the video and if you're going to create a flowing Friday for yourself to really set up that flowing weekend, well, please be sure to subscribe or hit like or come join our email list so that you can find out about some of our best videos that people have liked the most, or about some of the different things that we offer to help you get in the flow, whether it's in your relationship, with your business, with what you're manifesting, whatever it may be. So here is to your abundant, fluid weekend that I hope is filled with wonderful things. And if it isn't the weekend for you, I hope it's still a fluid couple of days.